nothing but truth on AFR Talk.
Welcome back. Crane Durham's Nothing But Truth at the bottom of the hour. Immigration truth. You've heard a lot of people, both on the left and the right, supporting immigration reform. What does that mean? Well, in the Senate bill, that pretty much means amnesty and not solving a third to half the problem, continuing to have illegals come into the country. We'll talk to Stephen Camarata about the big push for immigration reform and the narrative that has been shaped. And we'll see if that's true. Plus, Reince Priebus takes on Candy Crowley and says, look, debate-wise, and for that matter, when it comes to the debate on health care, the media is spinning it for the left. Top of the hour, David Gartenstein-Ross will join us, and he's going to discuss the NSA, a legal perspective, what we've heard, what we know, and the truth. David Gartenstein-Ross, Senior Fellow at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. And if you have any tax questions, the tax man himself, I don't know if he'd like that title because he's anything but knowledge of the issue, certainly. And that is Pete Sepp, Executive Vice President of the National Taxpayers Union, will be with us. Now, Louie Gohmert took on Joaquin Castro this past weekend on This Week with George Stephanopoulos. The other two panelists, Donna Brazile, Democratic strategist, as well as a person very familiar with campaigns, running a few presidential ones, and for that matter, George Will, libertarian, conservative, to a man who is, well, it's a surprising debate. Here is President Obama in just a montage. When you have a lot to do and a little time, you got to do a montage. And Crane Durham's Nothing But Truth on AFR Talk now brings you a clip from This Week with George Stephanopoulos where they open with a montage of President Obama describing how the holy grail for the Republican Party has become to deny health care for Americans. Mr. Gohmert took great exception to that. Roll it.
My friends in the other party have made the idea of preventing these people from getting health care their holy grail, their number one priority, the one unifying principle.
Those are the only thing that seemed to get the president really riled up on Friday. George Will says it's an ideological fixation. How does it play out? Do you believe that faction inside the Republican Party is going to succeed in pushing their leaders to hold the line?
Boy, that's a false narrative. He said that we're trying to keep people from having health care. That's just not true. That is an absolute blatant lie. We are not trying to keep anybody from getting health care, and whether or not they have insurance under an exchange or not does not prevent people from getting health care.
Want to take that on?
Well, sure. The fact is you have millions and millions of Americans that can't afford health insurance. Obamacare is helping people get health insurance. Republicans have offered no other solutions or plans
at this point. Of them,
but at this point, Louie, it's just ideology. It's just extreme ideology.
Look at how this is shaped, okay? You have Obamacare and its failures. Promises on budget, 100% off. Promises on lowering premiums, off. Lowering $2,500, no. They're increased up to $3,000. And you have businesses citing why they're not hiring because of the cost, and they're cutting back. And we see that in the labor market in the sense of part-time jobs and people being employed in part-time jobs because they could not get 40 hours a week. Okay? Go down to, so you have the 49ers, under 50 employees, and the hours worked, declining that. That's why the U6 is anywhere from 14% to 14.6% in the last two surveys on the measure, measuring those part-time workers, discouraged workers, and the part-time workers that would like to be full-time workers. Now, understanding that, you just heard Joaquin Castro say it's the extremist ideology. The president himself has suspended the employer mandate by 1 year, selectively enforcing the law. Okay? Louie Gohmert has made the case to say what the president just said is a lie. And he's right. Yet where is the debate headed? Roll it.
Well, the congressman says that's a lie. Remember what Mark Twain said, the difference between a lie and a cat is a cat only has 9 lives? The fact is that this president has the power, particularly when it's supported as this one is by the mainstream media, to set the narrative. And the narrative will be that the Republicans have chosen simply to cause chaos. And I think it's a bad idea.
Bad idea to go down the line.
You cannot govern this country from one half of one of our 3 branches of government. Can't be done.
So, in essence, George Will, and I understand the political point he's making, but it doesn't matter if Louie Gohmert is right. It doesn't matter if what I said about the U6, discourage workers, part-time workers who want to work full-time, and workers that have left the workforce. It doesn't matter the consequences of Obamacare. Raising premiums off by 100% when it projections. That doesn't matter. It doesn't matter the fact that the Republicans have offered plans and do have a health care plan, buying across state lines, freeing up the market, going after lawsuit reform, medical malpractice reform. And you can agree or disagree with that. It doesn't matter. Louie Gohmert says, wait a second, it does matter. Roll it.
Well, I don't know, but I do think that even though we're one half of the legislating body from which no spending occurs unless we agree, that is a position that allows us to force others to adhere to the Constitution. We don't have to wait for the Supreme Court. We can force that. And we can say, you're going to abide by the Constitution, whether the Supreme Court gets it wrong or right. We have the ability to force respect for the law, and some of us think that we ought to force them to do that.
Do you think you have the votes to defund Obamacare? It doesn't appear like that to me.
Not right now, but we'll see after August, after people go home. And as far as Obamacare, though, when the president himself says it's not ready, so I'm giving this break to all big business, what about the poor guy out there making $14,000? He's going to pay extra income tax if he cannot afford to pay the several $1,000s for an Obamacare policy. Who's caring about him? Well, a lot of us do, but it's not this president because he didn't let the individual mandate have a year off. That only goes to big business. That's not fair.
So he's bringing up fairness, application of the law, nice little skate by Congress, getting the waiver. And he's bringing up the substance. Yet the whole focus is, no, you just can't win. I mean, because everybody doesn't believe you in essence. And they can't understand the failures. Well, 50+% of Americans do not support Obamacare as they know it. We'll get to the defund argument in a second. My point is, we've taken something and shifted it all to a strategy where Republicans have one disagreement: how best to get rid of Obamacare. And interestingly enough, the idea of how dare they shut down government, which they're not doing. They're defunding Obamacare within the funding for the government and making President Obama choose. But that narrative's never really going to be shaped now, is it? Because look at how this conversation's going. Louie Gohmert brings up the Constitution. Louie Gohmert brings up fairness, the cost, the selective implementation. And, well, continuing the debate. Roll it.
Well, I would say, first of all, it is the law of the land. You know, the Congress passed it, the president signed it, and a conservative Supreme Court upheld it, Louis. I mean, it is the law of the land.
So how does he get to delay a year for just rewrite and say we're going to delay it for a year.
The problem is that the House Republicans, with all due respect, I'm a former Hill staffer, not a member, of course, but they cannot even agree among themselves with spending. I mean, just before the recess, they couldn't even pass a transportation HUD bill. I mean, I don't understand the Republican Party these days. I mean, they've set these budgetary goals, and they're afraid to meet them.
No, we're not afraid to meet them, but Donna, you need to also remember, and I think Lyndon Johnson said it, that if two people agree on everything, one of them's unnecessary. It's good to have a good disagreement. That's how we got to the Constitution.
It is good to have a disagreement, and he's being respectful. He's understanding these things, I think, better than the other panelists at times. But remember, he's going to be written off for a number of reasons. They're going to use Southernism, and the idea that somehow he just doesn't get it. He doesn't understand that we picked up 2 Senate seats in the sense of his Republican Party picked up 2 Senate seats in the last government shutdown, but lost a number of House seats. And inevitably, it led to a more conservative agenda post-96, 95, 96 shutdowns in 95 and 96. We're not even shutting it down here. I think Stephanopoulos should have said, look, you got 50+% never in favor of this bill. In essence, favoring repeal. You've got a disaster, a train wreck. If we tell the truth about it, the cost, the fact that 30 million people will still be, according to the CBO, maybe it's 28 million, still be uninsured after the implementation of Obamacare. 30 million. And yet, Louie Gohmert, wow, he's way off because he's talking about defunding it. He's talking about stopping this monstrosity that's impacting employment, healthcare costs, and, quite frankly, our liberty in all the wrong ways. I haven't even brought up the privacy concerns. I'll do that with Pete Sepp from the National Taxpayers Union. Crane Durham's Nothing But Truth. Check out the Facebook page. Stephen Camarata will be next with us right here. Oh, and the religious, yeah, I'll talk about that. Don't worry. We'll talk Stephen Camarata, Center for Immigration Studies, the truth about immigration reform. Everything you need to know. AFR Talk.